Hey guys. Efrain, I see you already in the chat. Hello. First one in. What's up? Hope everything's all right. Happy Good Friday. Those of you who celebrate. All right. Let me larger. Yeah. Okay. So today we're gonna shortly discuss drawing of hands and the different ways that you can go about it, realistic ways, and from which angle to approach it if you are just a novice. From which angle to approach if you're already a kind of more seasoned artist and just want to learn how to maybe approach it quicker and more gestural and kind of I'm gonna kind of show you the ways I've kind of block it in or place it early on in my drawings, as well as kind of talk a little bit of structure, how to place the structure the right way. And so I did a study while back. I even wrote a year on this. 3 years ago, so it's 2023. I did a little study here. So there you go. For this whole thing, I did drawings, and I wrote down which artists, if I knew them, like Dale Keown, Finch, Magneto's hand here, Mark Silvestri, I think here, and there's just Arthur Adams over here. Like one of the he did a Venom. I really enjoyed that, how he did his hand. That's really creature-like, and just gives me a good quick reference when I'm drawing something. Like for example, this one right here, right? This one right here. So I have it this way, and that's the way I looked at it and I was drawing it. But you can turn it downwards. You can turn it sideways like this. So you can change an angle to not much changes really to adjust to where you have a figure facing, maybe grabbing the sword or something a different way, or even like this, So once you place it how you want it, you can just turn it, after you practice long enough, you can do it, without reference. But if you need reference, this one right here is very useful. A lot of times, you get to use that fist. So another fun one that you get used a lot. This is a She-Hulk, and I'm not sure the artist was, so I didn't mark it. That's another Finch here. Neil Adams with a green arrow, and Colossus by Eric Sosa. One of my probably I've really enjoyed this. It's simple, but it's so cool. Of course, it's Bernie Wrightson, so simplicity and yet elegance. That's how he does it, I guess. Beautifully. Grab me about 10,000 pencils real quick so I can figure out which one I want to draw with. All right. So we talked about arm structure, but we didn't really get into drawing hands a little bit more in detail. So let's talk about it. There are different, of course, angles of the hands, and a lot of times when I'm just drawing quickly and say something needs to be grabbed, so I draw the wrist, right? So I draw the wrist here, and say thumb is going to go this way. I'm definitely going to do it this way. So you draw this. If it's a fist, say a person is grabbing a sword or something, right? So if I turn this way, maybe you see a little bit better. Anyway, all right. So I'm gonna kind of know that this is because this is gonna be the bend here. This is gonna be the little knuckle, and then a little bit of this and a lot of this. So I have this smaller ball, and this is larger one. So it's gonna have the thumb. It's gonna have the thumb here. Okay. So I know that. So I know if it's squeezing some kind of which I'm gonna be drawing figure today, comic book character, which is going to be absolute Wonder Woman. She's going to have a sword in her arms, you know, both arms holding them. So one hand will be opposite, the other one this way. So when you have this, you got to understand that, all right, so if this knuckle comes out, then another one, so one knuckle goes down, the other knuckle, you know, it starts wrapping already. So it starts wrapping. I'm showing you from the side view. The other knuckle comes out, and the other knuckle kind of groups around this whole thing, right? All right. So now you just got to figure out how far does the hand go. There's that knuckle, that knuckle, that knuckle. All right. So this already comes out at you. So this comes out at you. Then you're going to have this knuckle here, and then this finger here. This phalangeal, the last one right here. So same thing here, just larger, and we can make this one stick out a little bit, kind of just for the fun of it. Just you see a lot of that done anyway. So there. Okay, so I have my hand now roughly blocked in. Hi, this is hey Saki. Welcome to the channel. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. Hopefully this whole thing is showing proper. All right. So now you have a hand pretty much figured out. Okay. This knuckles. This one comes out, this one comes out, and this one over here. So you have, and then just, you know, this is going to be a sword over here somewhere, right? When we're drawing a hand that is kind of open, hey, what's up, Vic? Dennis, everybody's coming in. What's going on? How's everybody this evening? Happy Good Friday, guys. So if I was to say draw a hand that's looking at me and pointing, you know, one of those superpower things, you know, kind of like, you know, one of those things. So you have a hand that does this. So you have the knuckles. So I'm drawing kind of a flat, so I know I'm going to have these fingers, you know, all here. So I'm going to start pointing, kind of drawn out. For me, that works better. Okay, let me move the camera here a little bit. Hopefully that works helpful. There we go. Yeah, more focus, hopefully. All right. So then you just got to figure out how everything's going to look. It's going to look coming at you. And then you got to figure out the rest of the hand, right? This is going to get foreshortened right here. This part is going to get shorter, kind of crinkled up into this. All right, and this one's going to be larger, okay? And it's going to come out longer, basically, because it's going to come from there. There's that. This is going to be, I don't know, this. I don't know. Maybe it's this paper. Okay. So the knuckle, okay, all this mess here, then you know it's going to be knuckle here, then it's going to be a phalange, and then phalange, right? So this is how I approach the drawing something like this, like it's pointing at you with the superpower thing, you know, and then you can get a little more detailed if you need to, but suggestion, stay simple in this case, but if it's really up close to you, yeah, you're gonna have to like get this, and all the knuckles, right? And this right here is gonna get very wrinkly. Okay, so you have that hand pointing at you like that, and then you're gonna have the arm over there, shoulder, right, coming out. You can reverse draw something like this. You can have a hand drawn and then add the arm. If you know the structure, you'll figure all this out. Okay. and then somebody's looking at it, with the superpower. So we talked about kind of holding these things, kind of like doing this right here. Actually, I'll probably go a little bit more at me a little bit in this case, but sometimes it just opens up a little too far. Okay. Kind of like right at me. And that's where you can get into some, trouble. At first, I kind of enjoy that, the way it looks, so I'm going to stick with that. There. I know how it's going to open up a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. We'll live with that. All right. So, when we're drawing a fist in a different direction, so you have a fist that's you're looking from the top, right? So think of it as some kind of a perspective box, right? With there's this thing here, that's this part. So it's going somewhere in perspective, somewhere that way. Okay. So now identifying the knuckles, got to give it some form. Sometimes things will disappear a little bit. So once I have this, identify my fingers, right? It depends on how hard the fist is squeezed, some of this, because it's going to be wrapped up into that, and you're going to have some of that coming out. And that's how you kind of quickly approach, drawing the fist like this, right? There are a lot of angles that I still have drawn and still giving me a hard time. But overall, it gets easier with time, and how much more you draw all the time, it'll help develop your skill a little bit more. And now with the knuckles here, so let's discuss how to figure out these knuckles, right? You have them there, but they're not going to be circles, right? Oh, that's true. So now we have. I like to not give every. If I'm glitching out here. All right. So you kind of identify this. Give it a little shading here and there, and this right here usually curves, and if it's squeezed hard enough, the is going to get a little rounded, right? And then right here, what happens in this area? So you visualize it. You can just look at your own fist or whatever, but to visualize it, this is what I do, and it's kind of like, okay, so I have this one right here. All right, then this one goes right here. And there you go. This one goes into here. So that's what the lines is going to create. So when I do this, right? So when I do this, there's my finger. All I'm going to see is this and this. And then, the hand is going to hold the rest of it. It's going to come from this knuckle and kind of wrap around, right? Then there you go. There's that. Okay. So you can always break it down into more geometrical shapes and figure out what you got visible to you. All right, and then roll with that, and then start adding detail. Now you always look at some reference that can give you a little bit more advantage of creating more realistic look. And I'll suggest to do that if you really want something realistic. But if you want, until you get to the point where you draw realistic all the time anyway, But in this case, there's that. All right, so things I've seen Jim Lee do. Okay, and Jim Lee will, I'm not sure if he's going to show it to you the same way today, but from some of the videos you watch, if you watch his streams, you will know that he describes a hand as this. So this is the hand. All right, and it's good to pick up some things, quick things from, you know, from an artist that been in the business for a long time. So you have this. So you're gonna have it usually says this is a finger here, and then pinky. So index, middle, ring, pinky. And then here is where I kind of innovate a little bit and get a thumb, right? Because you know it usually comes right here and wraps all the skin, right? Then you're gonna have, go straight to this knuckle here, right? There's knuckle here, knuckle there, knuckle there. So it usually wraps around here, so it kind of wraps around from there and goes into that. All right. And with that said, there will be another phalange coming out here, a shorter one, right? And then you're gonna have the last one with the, you know, the thumb. And then the lengths of these, you know, usually kind of go around. Depends. Sometimes this finger is a little extra long on somebody, but that will give you a quick access to open hand here. Okay. There you go. Just a simple, you know, if you remember this, you remember how that's structured, then you can start figuring out the rest on the fly. Like, you know, there's this many knuckles, they go around this way, but this is the sketching approach, drawing approach. I've studied a lot of realistic hands and structures of that. I teach my students that all the time too. So having access to that constantly kind of reminds me, all right, you know, this is what you got to do. This is what it has to look like. You know, you got this one right here. Okay, from sense of an artist here. This is when I start figuring out. All right, a lot of times I hear is that how much or how do you draw a wrist attaching to the hand? Okay. Well, you got to remember that this right here is going to come out farther than this. That's the first thing, right? So that will help right away, okay? And then just gauge by how thick you want to draw this, how wide, all right, or how thin. It all depends on the hand over here. But this is where I see a crease most of the time, right here. This little crease. Not coming from a knuckle necessarily. Most of these, yeah, it kind of, you'll see this little lines, right? But from this one, rarely do you see line come straight that way. It's just you see this nice little muscle shadow from right here, okay, from the tendon. Okay, so now we discussed that little fun part. Hopefully, you know, hopefully it's helpful. Okay. Let's talk about what do you do with a, say, a nail when you're drawing a nail on the finger, right? So you have, I'm going to draw this finger right here, right? So, and we'll say it wraps around this way. So we have a bit of a surface three-dimensionally like this, right? What's up, Rick? What's up? Rick Seller in the house. What's going on, buddy? So I'm kind of drawing this to identify that this is how much we can see from the top here. So depends on the person's nail, right? It's either short, all right, or long, or whatever you have going on. But it's always, you know, for example, this nail for me right here, my index finger, I had ink on it the other day, and it kind of set right into the creases, what do you call it, the cuticle area all around my nail. And what's funny is that I could see how circular my nail looked. It was just strange. I never noticed how circular my nails are. But you know, they come in different shapes and sizes, and this is kind of like what mine look like. And then, you know, most of the time cut short and all that. Now the nail comes at you a little bit, right? This right here starts curving upwards. Then there you go. So basically the slight curve and then more of a curve. All right. It depends on how much the nail is actually looking right at you. You can kind of determine that. So here's our little sorry guys, my camera is falling apart over here. Let me fix this real quick. Not sure why, but fix it. Right. Okay. Hopefully this will fix the issue. We'll see. All right. Ooh, bright. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so this was our study from today, and hope you guys kind of found this, you know, more or less helpful. You know, we covered a little bit of some of the bases of the hand and the nails, some of the other things. Let's see. What else can I tell you about approaching hand drawing here? A lot of times when you're drawing like an open hand, like just a quick approach would be drawing something like this. Right, and determining, you know, how much longer this is going to be. See, this is just basically placing things really lightly, right? I guess I got to zoom in again. All right. So I know this is going to be finger here, finger here. So there. I know that happens here. And then just figuring out how to place all this the right way, right? There we go. So that was like a quick little rough approach to that. Hey, Michael Gardner, how's it going? I do too. I take pictures. Like I'll be sitting there and just like fist this way, that way, you know, take pictures when I'm really struggling with an angle. But there you go. Let's open this finger up a little bit here. Okay. Doesn't want to focus very well. Okay. So yeah, that was a simple approach, and then you just break it down, and there's your hand, open palm. You know, if you don't need much else, that'll be a simple approach. But a lot of times, okay, so I'm sketching an arm, and I'm like, okay, so there's my arm, and I'm like, I'm gonna grab something. It's gonna be holding. There you go. That'll be the starting point. Okay, that's just the rough starting point. So I know that you're gonna be grabbing something. So tricep is gonna be flexed here, bicep open, so it's not humongous. This forearm part, that's a lot of times gets people. There's this, there's that, and then start, you know, digging in on the details, right? Okay, and that's the quick approach. So, trying to think of another ways of what to show you guys. Just just like I showed you this previously, just get a whole sheet going of different hands. Two hands holding something. Fist, kind of slightly open hand. Slightly this way open hand. Fist pointing this way. Hand holding the gun. Just study different artists. It helps, but also I'd say take images of your hand doing the same thing. What does five fingers say to the face? Okay, I like that one. Everybody, if you don't know the reference, guys, you should look up Dave Chappelle Show. The Chappelle Show. Okay, so really enjoyed this hand right here. That's another Art Adams, and I'm telling you, that man can draw some hands, some good hands. And just practice those things. Practice different artists. Gerardo Zaffino right here is a good one. Might be using that today. But sometimes I look at these to help me. Sometimes I just trying to figure out again, just in my head while I'm having something in front of me and drawing it. Just like, okay, how's this gonna look? Let me work this out again. I want to create those problems for myself to challenge myself a little bit more, so I can get used to the point drawing this is gonna be just like second nature, so I don't never have to have this again. But yeah, make a sheet. So this is 11 by 17, and I made about 5 across and 5 down, and 25 hands here. And it was a good practice. I filled it up in about a day and a half. And just looking at Pinterest, finding different comic book artists, just looking at comics and comic art and finding hands here and there to draw. Hopefully any of this little stuff helps you guys, figure out your way how to draw hands and such. Okay. So we have the arms figured out, and just figure out the hands now. Okay. All right. There's that. Okay. Now, of course, what is an instructional video without drawing something? Today, Neil Adams did some excellent hands. Yes, he did. One of those examples was Neil Adams. Yeah. It was the Green Arrow. All right. So let's see if I can pull back a little. Camera doesn't work. It's not. You know how it is. I know the. So let me come back to you guys just a second. Okay. I think we're good now. Now my camera is a little more stable. I mean, it might still be crazy, but it's stable for now. All right. What I was doodling right before the podcast tonight, It was to figure out what I wanted to draw, and this is gonna be pushing it for tonight. Plus, the hands will be a little less. This is gonna be a little bit more here. We can talk about this. And I just worked a little bit on the expression she's gonna have, just to see if I like it. All right, so Absolute Wonder Woman, right? Absolute Wonder Woman. Let's sketch her up real quick. Set the timer. Just kidding. There's my pencil. It always runs away from me. It's blue and I can see it, but it runs away from me sometimes. Okay. Right. Drawing it on the cover paper. Well, in case somebody wants it to be a cover, who knows? As I say that, so much confidence. So I wanna place her right. This is my approach too. Most of the now I'm gonna have her looking down, so the neck is gonna slightly disappear. And let me see if it's too bright. There we go. A little less bright. Something. Hello, Natik Ward. What's going on? Welcome to the channel. So, when we're talking about drawing the heads the other day, all right, and I'm having her look kind of downwards, right? Okay. Sometimes when my drawing is successfully gives me Adam Hughes vibes, I'm super happy. Okay, so when you have a face looking at you, okay, so you have we're going back to the Loomis method, right? You have all this, all this. The middle will be the eyebrows here, right? The eyes in here, but you'll have the jaw. You'll have the jaw showing more or less. Even on females, it's gonna be more soft. On man, it's gonna be a little bit more square, whatever you want to call it, unless it's a heavier face, and it will be rounded. But you'll have the more or less some kind of bend here, slight bend, right? So in any case, when you draw a head looking downwards a little bit more, so you turn it down. What happens is basically these cheekbones are right here now. Jaw is gonna be back here, and it's gonna kind of disappear. So it becomes smoother, rounder. Okay, so the nose will stop. You bring down the nose a little bit. Depends on how far you go. Bottom lip is going to be larger. Chin is going to disappear a little bit more. All right. Think about those things when you're drawing. Okay, so there's no more jaw really, and the ears is going to move up a little bit over here. Okay, and then hair or whatever. Okay, just want to discuss that with you guys. Good times. Hey, hello from Brazil. Thank you for being here. Guica Valho 8277. Hello from the United States. All right. So we have. I mean, it's guess what? This hair in the back is going to be kind of. It's gonna go, and then there's gonna be that part, right? The part, and then right. So you have that. And right here, somewhere it's gonna disappear and becomes like start spreading out on all the different directions. Just want to give you guys like some sense on where I'm going here with this. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna have. All right. This is Frank Cho. Okay, so Frank Cho, he just draws a male body first when he does females, and then he adds the breasts. Okay. So we're gonna figure out the shoulder here. Now, what happens when the hands or the arms lean next to the body more? It squeezes the muscles, and especially if you ever seen somebody flex, fake flex, when they're like, "Oh, look at my tricep or look at my bicep," they squeeze that arm close to their body, so it basically squishes it and expands it a little farther outwards, like to left or right. So this is what happens here with the tricep. Okay. So let's see if I left her enough room to actually hold the sword. Like I did. On the elbow. Trying to figure out the rib cage here. Add that. So we'll go in that direction here. Feel like let's extend arms all the way over here. Little exaggeration never hurt anybody, right? And we'll make sure that sword is going this way, so she's gonna have a sword holding that way. There we go. So don't have to draw a lot of muscles here, because in the end, she has quite a bit of armor actually. Okay. So there's that, but I still need to know. So it will be, this is my shoulder, the tricep there, bicep here. There's the forearm. Standing this way, right? Hey, Derek, what's going on? Welcome. So there's this here. This is a little straighter, and then there. And then we discussed this right here, didn't we? So this guy here looks like, I feel like maybe expanding it down a little bit more. Let's do that. Hey, I'm using a eraser. Who would have thought, right? Okay. This comes down. Shoulder here. There's that little muscle there, somewhere here. Let's go with this. There's that. This all stretches out, so it's okay sometimes to just go with it. No elbow. We're not gonna see much of an elbow. Some maybe, yeah. And then we'll come down here. She's over gripping, so overhand, right? There's that hand muscle. There's this. We're gonna work on that a little bit later. She's gonna stand like that. Okay. There she is. In all her super duper glory. So I'm gonna put this here. So what she does have is this she also kind of wraps still a little bit, but we still have chest, right? A little more muscle. I'm trying to figure out how my muscles are gonna wrap here. Clavicle. You know, just the usual things you kind of think about in the process when you figuring out all this. Trying to look at her tats. So another thing I've learned from years of exercising, studying bodybuilders and things like that, is that in this case, I actually did a drawing. I did a drawing of something similar, like a bodybuilder holding a barbell, right? Except for both arms were turned this way, right? But he was straining so much. This right here got flatter. Okay, let's talk about it real quick. All right, so let's talk about shoulder, right? Shoulder is straining. There's the forearm, the bicep and all the forearm. So what happens is with the muscles, it flattens out quite a bit because it's just pulls in all these directions, right? Down, just pulling down with all the weight. We'll just imagine it. And then this tricep is flat next to the body. There's the bicep, right? The tricep, you can't, the small tricep that you see, there's the big one in the back and there's the small tricep that you usually see. They, artists draw just because, oh, that's so cool. In reality, it's going to get so flat you can barely see this line right here, especially female. It's perfect, to show this, but there's barely any definition here. So then there's that, and then you have that forearm all wraps up, and then you got the arm, the hand grabbing, gripping a really heavy kettlebell. All right, so then all that. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Shoulder does not become a boulder shoulder anymore unless somebody really lifts a lot and their shoulder just doesn't lose too much of a shape. But this right here becomes farther out than the actual shoulder. So when we do this, and this, and this, kind of identifying this hole. Let's turn this a little bit more though. Yeah. I'd like to turn this a bit more. And then there's going to be a lot of pull here, so we have a lot of that. There's that. Just trying to get a little more anatomically correct with her arms here. Just, you know, thought processes, what's where and what and how. So as this bicep here, so as this kind of disappears into the whole armor part here, see it goes well. I'm thinking of the armor that she has on, kind of innovate a little bit differently maybe, but not all of it. Okay, so it's kind of coming together a little bit more. All right, no, we can't strain our arms to the point where we can see all that, but we know there's a couple of these here. So, and then in the end, whether you like it or not, all her hands. This is how I can approach some of these fabrics. You can see. And like we discussed, there's this. Just flatten it against let's see. Another little trick we're talking about here. All right. If you have a, you know, right triangle or something, right? And you drawing that, I'll say, okay, so it's gonna go this way, right? We'll say, always have these tools handy, guys. Always right triangle. Another thing. Eraser fell. Another thing I found really helpful. This stuff before I lose it is this guy. Well, I have another one. This guy. Very helpful. So with this said, this is what I like doing. Okay, so trying to figure out a direction of so this the hilt, and I know this is direction this is going. That means this is the way that the guard is gonna go. And once I know where the guard is gonna go, I know how to realign my thumb here, because it's gonna lean right next to it. Sometimes you can make it cool, kind of looking like if it's a narrow guard, I would say you won't have to worry about it as much. You can actually make the thumb go over a little bit and kind of worry about it later. It's just kind of, see how cool it looks or whatever. All right. There she goes. Right here. Okay. So now once we're here, we gotta figure out how much of her hand is actually gonna kind of go over the top. Let me close in here since we are talking about hands tonight. All right, how much of her hand is actually gonna overlap? So find something you want to grip, like a piece of some kind of stick or something if you find it. So now we know that, and that, as we discussed, I'm gonna go this way. Actually, you may even see a knuckle here. Another one, and then, as we talked about, we're gonna extend this a little bit out farther, and then close these over. So we have knuckle coming out. No, not gonna see it. Not gonna see the knuckles. Just an idea for it. Get this one closer and this one closer here. It's slightly open. See? So this one was a little bit more open. The other ones, these two are a little more closed. This one's kind of out, and this one, like this, kind of grabbing it. Because this gets in the way, the pad. Yeah, makes sense, right? And then we'll come out here. We're gonna have knuckle around. I like to give that here. There's too many lines here. It doesn't make sense to me. Bit of a nail, if we can see it. Still making some lines I don't like. Okay. Anyway, that's the hand I see happening here. And then with this one, let's talk about this one. So it's overhand here a little bit. We can talk about how far, right? How far this gonna go? Right, thumb there. It's gonna wrap around the thumb, around the fingers in the back, right? So means I can open this up a little bit. It's gonna go almost in a straight line, so you can do it this way. That'll work. Or you can kind of make it interesting and just give this finger extension, like we discussed earlier. These guys are all going to be most likely faded out. Something like this. All right. All right. So now that we chose this angle here, yeah, there we go. I like this better. Okay. This hand, however, is also, guess what? I forgot this little knuckle here, right? So then extend it and wraps around a little bit. Gives that little thickness because it's wrapped around. Sorry, it's a little thickness. So this right here shows up. Gives a little roundness here, and maybe a little bit over here at the end of the pinky. Just because it's squeezed against something, right? All right. Now you can draw those lines if you need to. kind of give you an idea with the knuckles. Sometimes it's just a guide, and sometimes actually, like for example here, gives a little more roundness. Okay. Then this guy, you're gonna have a little dip here, down, a little wraparound, and there's a hand. So there's our hands. Here we go. One nail. Two nail. Three nail. Okay. Let's bring this. Let's bring this down a little bit. Oh, I'm not a fan of where I placed it right now. Hands are fine. It's just a oh. Okay, and this thing right here is really good at kind of line. Okay. Love this tool. Thin out a little bit on the wrist here. And this is like a push-pull, guys. It's always push-pull, and it's one of those things that just never ends. So if I know I'm gonna do this here, wrap around there, something like that. The idea. So now let's make sure that the distance here is the same. Yeah. There we go. And then extend the blade. And then once again, this tool comes in handy. You just line up one of those lines. And there you go. Okay. Pull back a little bit. Anyway, that's kind of a general idea here. There's still a lot to fix here. Certain things, you kind of come back to and just like, oh. Sometimes looking at a realistic reference does help a lot more. But I don't have one, so I'll play with shapes to see what I like better. And gauge her tattoos or whatever. And so on and so forth, you know. We'll get there, I guess. So many tattoos, so little time. And then when you get to here, I'm trying to see better image reference for her tattoos real quick. This is just, all right, it's more of a tribal thing here. Okay. I may have shaded the wrong ones. And then right here is where it's kind of, right here is where we switch to more wrappings. Then we can see more of this still. You gotta work through things. Sometimes it's just it's very helpful. Don't try to settle. A lot of times you can do a lot of things that are easier and simpler to help yourself. Yeah. And sometimes it's just better to go all out and figure it out. All of it. From ground up and all that. There we go. Wrapping again on the thumb here. I don't know, it doesn't go around her fingers, so it stops around, you know, thumb and hand part here. And then, you know, the sword, of course, has a and I preach this to everyone a lot, is when you try to do the wrapping, say my thumb goes this way and it disappears somewhere in there. That line, don't ever try to connect another line in the sword wrapping to that thumb. Right here. It's always a bad idea. Have to change phone, but still got, yeah, on a big screen. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Dennis. The big show. So it's just a bad look. If you guys create that, make that line, just keep following. It just runs in. It gives you a bad visual effect. To whereas kind of look confusing a little bit. So let me take a sip of coffee here real quick. So I'm just gonna say she grabs it towards the end here and towards the beginning. There we go. Yeah, cloth. Another cloth here. Another rinkety cloth that's kind of flying off that way. We have her hair going that way more or less too. Let's pull back a little. There we go. Full view. There she is. So we're gonna pull the hair that way a little bit with the wind, so this cloth will make sense. And then we're gonna have, so for example, we're discussing the pelvic bone here. Then her legs, we're gonna have her legs go that way and that way, kind of. Actually, in this strong stance. And she has all this armor here that we can figure out later. On the side of her leg, and then her legs are also wrapped. Okay. Guys, this has been a solid hour. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of okay with this for an hour there. But this is what I have so far. That was my view anyway for you guys. There we go. Um, Russian. Maybe looking at someone there. Super angry. I mean, if she had a cape, she'd definitely be super angry. She's just angry here. And they do prefer to tell you that draw less details in the face of a female in comics. And why is because very little goes a long way, and also you want to keep the feminine features. And so I give it subtle lines here, subtle lines there, just to give her enough. Get a slightly different. Just trying to get a 07 here. I'm liking where is it going right now, kind of. Working out. Angry enough, right? I'm trying to place that middle of the face here so I know. I was thinking about giving her some damage, but let's just skip that for now. That's what we got so far. Hopefully, with me still. If not, or you still are, hopefully. Yep, mic's still working. Okay, good. Almost thought I unplugged it. Gotta sip on some coffee. While I do, a lot of times I'll do this. I'll just sit there with the cup I'm assuming we're still live, so let me know if we're glitchy. This mug I did not make, but my assistant professor back then, Robert McCarroll, did. Great ceramic artist. All right. Another tip. I'm back, Sir SOkoLOv. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back. Do you have videos on composition? That one I have not made. We have not touched that subject yet, but we will as soon as we kind of wrapped up with anatomy on the Fridays here. I'm gonna move to the perspective, the 1, the 2, the 3. We're gonna discuss, and those I'll probably do a little bit more in depth, and rather than drawing something, I'll just talk about more or less just that. And we're gonna discuss other things such as negative space, using I don't know. I know where I was just going with this, but fabric, kind of like Dave talked about. We'll get to that, I guess. But real quick, looking good. Hey, thank you, Jacob, and welcome to the stream. So, really quick, I guess I can tell you compositions. There's a few tried and kind of true compositional rules, right? For example, I drew this one, right? I drew this guy, right? This little composition, right? Before I just, okay, notice anything? All right, it's this. Okay, triangle composition, always simple go-to thing, okay? Especially for a single character. Even in this case, even two. And why I positioned the wings this way, flying out, is because it's a reverse triangle here. I mean, another triangle like on top. So you have couple of triangles going on here. Another way to go about this is kind of like he's doing this. You get a reverse triangle here going on. Anyway, another thing is breaking down the page into equal space. So equal space rectangles, right? And you're going to have your little points of interest, okay? So you have this person talking to this person. You have nice little conversation going on here. So for composition, the thirds, yes, rule of thirds, correct. So those are the things to look out for. When you're doing covers, go to a lot of it is triangular. When you have involved more characters, you got to kind of really start looking at the whole. What was that whole thing? I don't even remember the name of it, but I know it was Renaissance. The way they deal with composition back then. But we're gonna discuss that later. We're gonna discuss that for sure. All right. I just looked at her right now. Rule of thirds, and my teacher at the okay. My main teacher at the moment. Yes, the rule of thirds is great. Also thinking about design elements such as what we're talking about here. Informal, formal balance. radial balance, you know. But when you're talking about in art, you want to go with informal most of the time. Formal balance is mostly for tattooing, where it's symmetry. It's a lot of symmetry. Informal balance, when you start dealing with more figures in the composition, you start want to bring up some bigger ones up front, smaller ones in the background, you know, for the interest of it. But right now, I swear she almost looks like she could be on the cover of I Hate Fairyland. Yeah, I said it. She looks that much. She looks that much fun. Gotta get the lips. It was working. I had that line down the middle. Never put a line down in the middle. You have teeth. Another thing I teach kids is like, hey, you think you need to separate every single tooth, but you don't. You really don't. It just makes it look horrible. Watch while I eat my cookies. Hey, enjoy the cookies. Okay? A good Friday. Enjoy yourself. All right. Where are we going with her here? Now, the design that they give me for her armor here is kind of mostly like this. There's also other ones, but oh, man, I really like to change this. I always like to invent some other things, and there's some also my go-tos here and there. So I like to go a little crazier with it, a little more. I mean, this is all cool, but let's do this. All right, and cut it off here. So we'll give her this, right? Then a little more of this, a little more of this. Then we're gonna have one resting under there already. When we start getting a little clever. A little clever. Okay. Let's just say this. When I designed some things like this, like with the armor or approach drawing kind of, the armor and stuff, I always try to look for what would be a functional actual way of having the armor. Not just, ooh, it's so cool, it has no function. It's not going to work in real life. I always try to get close to something that might actually work. So that's why I give her little hinges here. So as they're linked together. The last one doesn't have it. So. Then again, she's comes from like this version of her comes from technically hell, so they can design whatever the heck they want over there. light source here. Identify it a little bit. Okay, notice a little mistake here. Okay, so I've noticed it, and I don't like it, so I'm gonna change it a little bit. So here we go. We're going back over here. You'll see. You'll see. All right. Does it make sense? Forearm is going to be longer. It was almost the same length from here to here, and I didn't like that. It just looked awkward. So there we are. Now I can live with this sketch. The best thing I do also watch live action films with armor. Yeah, that helps. One time I was composing some sort of a medieval battle, and I'm not sure which film I looked up, but I think it was one on Netflix that was medieval, like a recent film. Maybe with Matt Damon, I think. Played some kind of king, and they had a nice battle there. So I kind of really, especially when you're trying to draw a bunch of dead guys laying on the ground amongst the fight and battle, it's really helpful. Not gonna lie, so many times I'd say, you know, this pencil's cool, this pencil's cool, and you will see me go back to this one right here. The original, the OG here, 07 millimeter Pentel P207. Ask Frank Cho. Frank Cho loves this pencil, and I've used these for a long time. So, still love it. There. This. Yeah, I really enjoyed the way she's turning out, honestly. It's give her some of this. And all the rest of the things can be fixed or added. Trust the process. Yes. Definitely agree with the trust the process thing. And trust your gut and your eyes. You draw a lot, it's a process, you know, drawing a lot and putting in the work. It pays off, but don't give up. Otherwise, you'll never see the result of that paying off. But trusting your gut and your eyes is what I'm trying to say here is if it doesn't look right, If it looks awkward, if it looks something you feel is not right, okay. For example, that bicep was like too long. All right, so I need to change it. Trust it and change it. And if it still doesn't look right, look for some other solution. Something maybe else. Something else that might be wrong. Okay. So think about that when you're drawing, working on something. Um, not not you're not always gonna have that find that solution. Sometimes you're just gonna have to redraw it because it's just not happening. It's just you just don't like it at all, right? But most of the time, you'll find that something works. All right, and then let's go back to one thing that I was going to discuss with you guys. These two lines right here. Okay, so we know there's some curves here. We curved it a little bit. Okay, create that W here, right? All right, goes up here because we're dealing with something that is rounded. These are rounded, right? Duh. It's knowing where to do what here. Okay, like if it curves this way here and this angle is just going to go up or straight line, it's not going to curve the same way as this here. You can't curve that. In perspective, they will change that. So look for those things when you're working as well. All right. All right, so we got, I'm just trying to gauge this, make sure I'm in the same realm. Because she turns the body a little bit here, so I'm just trying to make sure we're in the right kind of mindset here. I had to bring it down a little bit here. Okay. So we got here. Here. So I'm doing a little math here. Curve it up, upwards, and then start, playing with the design a little bit. Okay. Then you can do kind of like whatevs. Like change it up, So we know the light's coming from this area. Think about this, shiny stuff. Gotta still remember that it is metal wrapped around chest. A lot of times I just play with hatching like that to see what sticks a little bit better. And I'm trying to consider the shape. What am I wrapping around, you know? Kind of give it some idea. Okay. All right, y'all, this looks great. Howdy. Hey, Justin. And no, sip your water. Well, yeah. Water is out of reach unless I want to ink in my water and I have some of that. Do have plenty of water though in the house. We'll drink it later. So a lot of times I also like to jump around from place to place in my drawing. And that also goes back to being a fine artist for the longest time. I usually work all over the place and then tighten up, get closer to the center, kind of like to the main course kind of thing. So that's something that's will never probably go away. So I do what I know. This guy right here, so I gotta have, you know, two 8s or whatever this is. So I just figured it out. I think it's fantastic. Line up. I'm going this direction. There we go. This up a little. Trying to make sure the details in the right places. Once again, get this tool, guys. Yeah, anybody knows Sean Gordon Murphy? That's what I've seen use this. I was like, I'm gonna get me one just to see if it really works. Spoiler alert, it does. Very helpful tool. And you can add all the fun details and blah 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 and all that good stuff. All right. Let's give her a little shiny spot right here. Light source here. This is a dark red stone here. Something like that. Just give it a little shine. And if you feel like it, a little erasing to create that little shine. I think she's a little disheveled and upset. I don't believe she has earrings, so I was gonna leave it there. Okay. All right. Now this is messing up. Okay. What's happening here? What's happening here? Not sure what's happening here. Let me quit that real quick. All right. I think I quit it, but we'll see. Try to quit my Pandora real quick. There it goes. It was just messing with me. I was trying to listen to it while I'm, drawing and all that, but we're almost at the wrap. But here we go. Almost at the very end of this stream, and certainly hope it was, this has been informative. Hey, Justin, the darkness piece you did looks fantastic as well. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And Jacob said that's how he works. That's the painter and also all of us. Yes, it is, isn't it? That fine artist thing is just doesn't leave. Once you become one, it just doesn't leave. So. I'm gonna do a little erasing here since my other pencil is greedy. Let's mess around with that. All right. It's a very fun sketch, the way it came out. So, when it comes to shading, shade first, and then create battle scars of things, may have hit the armor, scratched it. And when you shade, always try to shade along the shape that you're trying to shade. So if it's square or rectangle or flat, something flat, you can go straight line. If it's rounded, try to cross hatch it around the roundness of it. Bouncing around the canvas until a little decision tell us where to go. Yeah, and also the same thing I do with working on several commissions at once is because it helps me stay focused on what I missed. Like if I miss something, I will see it. But if I work on one at a time, a lot of times I come up a little short. In my personal opinion, anyway. So here I go. Then thinner, a little more rare lines. Hey everybody, what is everyone reading these days, comic-wise? And if you haven't picked up or pre-ordered any Rippaverse books, I have about 3 covers that you can grab of mine, maybe even 4. The 4th one I think just hit pre-orders. So visit their site, find it, check it out. But personally, I've been reading. I picked up my books, by the way, too. I ordered those. And I read the Absolute series, Wonder Woman and Batman. I read the Battle Beast, Invincible Universe, Battle Beast, and I'm trying to read Darkness as much as I can too. Need to pick up a couple issues I have missed. Skinbreaker a little bit as well. Need to pick up my last issue, number 7. You know, the usual things that I'm sure a lot of you guys are reading as well. I mean, if you're not reading comics, that's okay. Choices, you know. See, now we have some battle damage, right? And then, you know, we're gonna bring this in here. No damage on these guys too. Oh, almost lost my pencil. All right. I don't know, what else am I reading here lately? Let's work out the hands a little bit. Since we discussed hands, let's go ahead and kind of give more details here. I like to come back and re-erase and a little flat. Once you squeeze against something or press against something, fingers go a little flatter. So keep that in mind. Another thing I've heard about drawing females in comics is that try to stick with drawing thinner hands, skinnier fingers, and I'm over here like, oh. Yeah. I don't see any comments, so I don't know if I've been dropping network or what, but Okay. Does make a lot more sense now that I'm looking at her like this. All right. Bit of a cloth flying around. So we got that one hand, you know. This one didn't have much to really, except for give it a little knuckles here. They disappear into the shadow. A lot more. Kind of a little more details here. Sometimes the wrappings kind of want to go on the same direction more or less, otherwise it's start looking awkwardly weird. Give it a little character here and there, and ripples and rips. That comes with the later detail work here. All right. Okay, so hands. We discussed hands. We've drawn almost fully penciled Absolute Wonder Woman, really angry one. There we go. And I hope you guys enjoyed the process. Let's her a little more closer. Still a bunch of work to do, but I guess I'll put it away for later. It was good having you guys here. Hope the stream was fun, informative, and you guys can rewatch it later. You know, maybe it will help you in something that you kind of rewatch it later, and you know you find something that was useful. Thanks, Efrain, buddy. Appreciate you. Thanks so much. Yeah. So until next Friday, there's no stream Sunday with the group of ours with the Nerdy Musings. It's it's a Easter Sunday, so if you celebrate it, please celebrate it, enjoy it. Happy Easter to you guys. I'll be celebrating with my wife and family over there. So I'll catch you guys later. Hey, you're welcome, Jacob. Appreciate you guys being here. Hope you guys had fun. Watch me draw. Watch me talk about all this hand stuff. How to draw hands, and till next time. I haven't figured out what we're going to discuss yet, but I think I may have marked it what we're going to talk about. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll have to revisit that and see what we're going to talk about. So everybody have a good weekend. I will see you